Hey everyone, Boone here from PremiumBeat.com. Today I'm going to show you how you can paint on the frame inside of Adobe After Effects to create some really cool scribbly, cartoony animation effects. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is get my workspace properly set up. And to paint on this animation, I'm going to be using the brush tool. So go over to your tools and select the brush tool, or use keyboard shortcut Command or Control B. So I'm going to select this. Now, where a lot of people get confused is the fact that you can't paint directly over the composition panel. So most people will grab this tool, they'll try to paint directly, and then they get this warning. And this is essentially telling you that these brushes do not work in the composition panel. You have to double click your layer and open up your layer in the layers panel. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to double click my layer here, and you're going to see over here, now I'm looking at the layer, and when I take this brush tool and move it around, now I have some paint. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Okay, so when I selected that brush tool, it actually launched two panels. So we have the brushes panel over here and we have the paint panel over here. So let's take a closer look at both of these. I'm going to go ahead and move this paint panel up here first so we can take a better look at it. Now, the paint panel is essentially telling After Effects how to handle that paint as you use the brush tool. You can modify just a plethora of different attributes here. You can change the default opacity, the flow, you can change the diameter and the brush softness and hardness, you can change the color, you can customize the blend mode, the channels, but the most important feature we're going to be looking at here is the duration. Now this is going to tell After Effects how long to leave the paint effect up. And you have four different options: constant, right-on, single frame, and custom. Now we're going to be doing frame by frame animation here, so we're going to select single frame. But essentially what constant does is from the frame that you paint that paint effect on, it's going to stay up constantly for the rest of that clip. Right-on is going to animate the paint on. And then custom, if you don't want to do frame by frame, you can select custom, and then you could type in if you want the paint effect to stay up for 2 frames, 5 frames. This can be pretty handy, and if you want to play around with this, it's going to give you some different looks. So be sure to mess around with this if you don't want to animate frame by frame, because it can get pretty tedious. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to single frame. And now if I go over here and click our brush tool, it's going to open up the brushes panel where we can see, again, just a ton of different options here. We can use these brush presets. We have different angles, different levels of hardness and softness for the edges. And you can actually adjust all of these attributes down here and save out your own brush preset if you'd like. And if you're using a tablet, you have a ton of different options and you can get really detailed. But this is a down and dirty scribble effect. I'm going to be using my mouse, and we're going for a really specific look here. Okay, so now I got my workspace all set up. I'm in the layer panel, I've got my brush tool, and I've got my paint settings and my brush settings set up the way I want. Now it's time to do my scribble. So I'm going to bring my playhead to the beginning here. I currently have 2 seconds of my clip here, and this particular clip is 25 frames per second. So if I do the math, I'm going to need to do this animation 50 times if I want to do it frame by frame. So as you can see, this can be a little bit tedious, but we can get some pretty interesting effects, and we don't necessarily have to do it on every single frame. You can kind of jump and skip frames. It all depends on the look you're going for. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Now I have a reference point. I'm going to use kind of the top back side of the car here and maybe the back panel here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start scribbling frame by frame. Now one trick to navigate frame by frame in After Effects is to use the page up and page down keys. Page down will take you 1 frame forward, page up will take you 1 frame back, and you're going to want to jump between the two to kind of see if you want those scribbles to match up. To quickly change the size of your brush tip, simply hold Command on a Mac or Control on a PC, and then click and drag up or down. Up will obviously make your diameter larger, down will make it smaller. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of speed this up because you don't want to sit here and watch me animate 50 frames. So there we go. Now I have some funny little cartoonish flames coming off the back, and that took me 3 minutes in real time, which was not that long at all. And this is a pretty fun effect. I mean, you can throw these cartoonish effects on the frame and paint them on, but you could also use it to do all different kinds of things that are totally customizable. For instance, let's say I had a whole pack of cars coming through here and I wanted to highlight just this one. I could take a yellow color and turn the opacity down and just paint frame by frame over the car to have that kind of highlight this car, and you can really draw the viewer's eyes with this. So And again, the customization is just insane. You can do all different kinds of things. If you look down here, I'm going to full screen this panel. You can see all of the paint effects frame by frame. And if you go down to each brush, you can look at the stroke options and you can change anything you want here. Or you could grab multiple brushes and change them by group. If you go over to the effect controls panel, you can turn on transparent. So we're just looking at that paint effect. So you could theoretically, come in here and use a live action video and kind of trace it to make an animation. So again, a ton of creative possibilities here. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Be sure to check out PremiumBeat for high quality, royalty-free music and sound effects for all of your media and video projects.